Oh yes, what a tyre. Oh, it's just a perfect combo. I think these might be my favourite tyres. I have made some changes to the Uno Burn. I've changed the grips to my favourite Bergtech Minar Supersoft grip. Can we just say a quick shout out to the Bergtech Bartender Minar grips in Supersoft. Greatest grip ever made. But the biggest change has been the tyres. I was previously running Kryptotal downhill casing tyres that used to be Steez tyres, and there was two things I didn't like about them. One, they were a little bit worn, so the edges had gone off the blocks, off the knobs. That does make the tyre feel a bit more washy. But two, they were downhill tyres, downhill casing, and I don't normally use downhill casing. I never really have, even on the downhill bike. I tend to be relatively light on the bike. I don't sort of smash stuff, so the need for a multiply sort of casing wasn't really needed for me. And recently Continental came out with this new tyre, which is the Enduro casing, which is lighter than the downhill casing tyre, in the same tread but with a Supersoft compound, which is the compound I wanted on the front. So I've upgraded to those, and it's genuinely made a big difference. So I've ridden these tyres back to back, and for me it just means that the bike feels way lighter, 300 grams lighter. That may not sound like a lot, but on your wheels, on the outsides of your wheels, that rotational mass makes a big difference to moving the bike around. The bikes sort of come alive a little bit. They're 2.4, 27.5 rear, 29 front. They're at 22 PSI front and rear. So I checked that today. So for me, on this tyre, on this bike, in these conditions, 22 front and rear feels perfect. Do you want a wheelie? They wheelie good. They're wheelie good. Enduro casings have always been my go-to kind of tyre for all bikes. Similar to the Maxxis double down casing, so probably a bit similar to that. Lighter than the double down actually, so for me, big thumbs up in terms of the weight. The grip levels feel much better. That might be because they're new tyres, it probably is, but the Supersoft front is incredible. I absolutely want planted front tyre, so I go for the softest compound I can get away with on the front, because I don't want it to move. I want it to track the ground. I want to be able to weight it and it not slip. That's the goal from front tyre. I also want it to be light, so again I've gone for the lighter casing for that reason. You know, when your shirt came up as a kid when you were on a slide, like one of those plastic slides, and your back like grabbed onto the hot plastic? That's how grippy this front tyre is. The front tyre has got so much grip, more grip than Putin's grip on Russian society. The rear, however, I'm running a soft compound, which is actually harder than the Maxxis Max Grip compound, although they call it a soft. It is quite a bit harder than the front tyre. The reason I do this, with Enduro, I feel like sometimes you need to move the back end of the bike around a lot. They can call it a Scandi flick, where you actually like move the bike in the opposite direction to the corner just to get your body position in the right place to actually attack the next corner properly. And when you've got a soft compound tyre, you can almost have too much grip on the back and you can't get that bike to rotate underneath you. So I've gone for technically a tyre that's less grippy on the rear for that reason, just so that I can pick the back end of the bike up, moves around a little bit more, and also the drifts become a little bit more predictable on a harder tyre. With a soft tyre, you can get it to drift, of course, you can get it to break traction and move, but the speed and the effort you have to put in to get that tyre to then move, I find it more being on a knife edge. So if it's too grippy, you sort of come into a corner, you've got loads and loads and loads and loads of grip, and then you've got none because the tyre goes. Whereas this goes a little bit earlier in your control. And I like that on a rear tyre. So that's why I run a soft rear tyre and a super soft front tyre. The rear tyre has got more control than Putin's control over Russian society. I can't use the same one twice. Surely not. So it's well thought out, well tested. I've got to be honest, these Kryptotals are right up there with my favourite tyres of all time, which are the Assegai Double Down and DHR Rear Double Down Maxis. They might even be better because they're slightly lighter. Anyway, those are my tyre choice. Continental, Kryptotal, Supersoft front, soft rear, 2.4, 27.5 rear, 29 front, 22 PSI. See you later. Big up the Menage, yeah? Greatest grip, I can't lie. These are getting bad.